entrepreneurship training and one-on-one mentoring to create space for the empowerment of Indigenous businesses. I'm just going to set up the recording properly here. Good, good, good. So it's going to be an interesting one today, and I'll tell you about it in a couple of minutes. First of all, I would like to read the acknowledgement. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge with respect, with great respect, the traditional territories of the Lekwungen people, whose land this program is based, and the Sanghees, Esquimalt, and WSÁNEĆ peoples, whose historical relationship continues on with the land to this day. We thank you all for attending, virtually from different traditional territories you reside. And interestingly enough, we've had people from all over BC, North Vancouver Island, one from Nunavut. So it's been interesting, and it's been an experience. The slide says congratulations, because that's what's in order. You guys have stuck it out. We've had a good core of attendees. The feedback has been reasonably positive. You could have said nicer things about me, but I'm a very forgiving person. It's part of my nature. So the funding for the program has been provided by the Songhees Nation, the Victoria Native Friendship Center, the Songhees Innovation Center, which is an amazing facility, and our good friends at Vancity, who are, they're really good corporate citizens. They really are. We have a fair amount of stuff to cover tonight, so let me, I want to go directly to where we're going to pick up tonight. On how to be a business rebel and business rebel savvy. So how do you define a business? Okay, so since we're going to be doing business rebel and we're going to talk about strategies to define what it's like to be a business rebel, and the fact that you have to be a little bit different, memorable. We're going to talk about what motivates people to say yes, how to get people to say yes, talk a little about body language. And if we have time, we're going to do a review of some of the highlights. So I will just show you. This is my mask. And who said pandemics can't be fun, right? I mean, we're all going through a really rough time. And if this creates a little chuckle in people and children run away screaming, well, I guess we've accomplished something, because we're showing that we're different. We're showing that we're memorable. And interestingly enough, one of the businesses that I actually helped somebody start is face masks, but printed with ads. You know, it could be Save On Foods or Little Caesars or anybody like that. And yeah, it's funny and terrifying. And where did I get that? Tina, you might consider producing stuff like this. It sells like hotcakes. I'll put it on one more time. I can model it for you. It flips on. It actually scares the crap out of little children, but you know, it's you can see. And when you think about it, it's something that we're going to be using, unfortunately, for too long a period of time, in my viewpoint. So in your business, Tina, it's something that, yeah, do one of Trump. Well, you may or may not want to. But anyways, we have a lot of ground to cover. I hope you have your paper and pencil ready to make some notes, because we are going to be moving at a fairly good clip. At the end of this workshop, I will be announcing the winner of the Business Award, the Cash Business Award. For somebody who has participated in the sessions, has inputted a really good business outline sheet. The deadline was June 15th. We reviewed the ones that we did receive. There were a number of them. Some were really good. Some were so-so. There was one that asked me for about $180,000, and I said, that's a little bit outside of our budget. But anyways, so I thank everybody who did participate, and at the end of this workshop, I will make the announcement of who the winners are. So sit tight. Good. Here we go. what does it take to be a business rebel? You can't solve the problems, because if you're playing by the rules and you're following everybody's rules, then a lot of what you're doing is you're playing catch up. And it's very difficult to play catch up because you're not really getting ahead of anything. So everybody has heard the expression, think outside the box. Can you give me some examples of being a business rebel and thinking outside the box, other than my amazing mask? And I know, Tina, you're going to be producing this. There is a company, by the way, that is producing those with some indigenous artwork on it. And they're selling really well at retail stores, online. You should think about it, Tina. Okay, so give me some examples of not playing by the rules and thinking outside the box. And then I'll give you a few of the ones that I've encountered. Anybody? Tell me what the company is as well. Which company? Synergies. Okay. So think outside the box. Give me some examples of thinking outside the box. I'll start you off. I'll tell you. I'll tell you one that's a COVID one. And it was in the news. These gyms are opening up, and there's this one gym. I'm not sure exactly where it is, but he set up these metal frames or plastic PVC pipe frames with shower curtains, so that they were individual workstations or workout areas. And it was one person per workout area, and possibly a couple if they've been isolating together. But anyways, and each one was equipped with equipment and weights and all sorts of stuff. And he spread it all out over the gym. And that's how he is dealing with COVID. I don't know how successful it is, but that's thinking outside the box. The other day, I told you about my consulting fees. When I set my consulting fees, if I knew the budget was X dollars, I would put in for a whole bunch of days at a reduced rate. And whoever was looking at the proposal, engaging it, would see that they were getting a lot for their money, when in fact, I was just bidding to get the job done. So that's thinking outside the box. That's a bit of flexible ethics. Didn't hurt anybody. And it helped me win the contract. But can you think of any other situations? And I'll give you a couple of others when I hear from you. No? Nobody thinking outside the box? Tracy, Lillian, Jacques, Lex, Tina, Steve, Mom? No, she's not on tonight. But anybody? Okay, I'll give you a couple more, and maybe you can pipe in as we go along. I had this one client, and guerrilla marketing, when Lex did his presentation of guerrilla marketing, that is really thinking outside the box. That is being very innovative, or as innovative as you can be. I had a client who was setting up a veterinary clinic, and it was a naturopathic veterinary clinic. And they were very conscientious of how they treated their dogs and cats. It was mostly dogs. And they treated them with all natural remedies, and they even did aromatherapy, and they were quite successful, but they had trouble getting known, and they had trouble getting their point across. So what I suggested to them is, and they did it, they took one of their dogs, because she owned a number of dogs, and it was a beautiful golden, and they put a little billboard on him, not a very heavy one, it was just a cardboard billboard, and walked it through the shopping malls, the busiest shopping malls in town. And the billboard said, "I am alive because of XX veterinary clinic." And everybody stopped and looked. Everybody loves pets, you know. They stopped and they talked to the vet, and the vet gave them an introductory coupon, and her business took off. That was enough to springboard her business. So that's thinking outside the box. That wasn't doing advertising or social media or anything like that. She didn't have a lot of money for major advertising, but it really, really worked for her. Can anybody think? I'll tell you one more that backfired. That was probably one of the most hilarious things I had ever seen. Okay. So we talk about using every weapon within the rules and stretch the rules to the breaking point. But again, as we said, being a business rebel requires some flexible ethics. So you are the only one who can decide how comfortable you are as to where you're taking this, okay? And the saying is, tomorrow I will do what others won't, so tomorrow I can do what others can't. Cute little motherhood saying. I'm not sure exactly why I threw it in there, but what the heck, it is there. But I'll give you an example of thinking outside the box, and it was actually right. Back east, they have the Quebec Provincial Police, and what's this? Being female in the so-called male market. Okay, well, taking advantage of that, I don't know how you would be a business rebel. I guess it would take more for a female entrepreneur to be a business rebel in a predominantly male marketplace. Yeah. So you've got to stretch in terms of being edgy and how you represent yourself out there. Anyways, so back east you had the Quebec Provincial Police, and they had a horrible reputation. I mean, they were bruisers. I mean, they averaged 280, 300 pounds. They were mean. They were like Mississippi stormtroopers, and they got into trouble. You know, every once in a while, someone would. In one occasion, somebody double parked when they were in a 7-Eleven, and he came in and asked them to move, and they beat the hell out of him. So that made the news everywhere. So what the government did was they said, well, we need a new image. We have to think outside the box. So they hired a designer. What was his name? Alfred Sung, to come up with new uniforms for the QPP to make them less frightening when they stopped somebody or when they went out on their missions. But Alfred Sung, he developed these uniforms that were skin tight. They were absolutely skin tight, and they had these huge stripes down the side and big gold epaulets with chains across the chest. Well, chains across the chest, and they were riot. I mean, these guys were actually embarrassed to wear these uniforms, and it didn't do anything. They actually became the laughing stock, and they trashed the concept within about a month. But that's also thinking outside the box. They were trying to think what they could do to make things better. It didn't work. People going on Dragon's Den and using that as exposure. Yep, that's a good one. Going on Dragon's Den, just getting yourself into a zone where you are slightly uncomfortable. And that's what being a business rebel requires in a lot of cases. Doing stuff that you're not super comfortable with, but you know they work, you know? So there's the personal comfort level, and there's the ethics involved. So winners recognize that playing by the rules, you won't always get what you want. Do you guys believe that? If you play by the rules, you won't always get what you want. The problem with rules is rules weigh you down, and rules put you into a performance box of what you feel you can do and what you feel you can't do or shouldn't do, and you're really playing by somebody else's rules. So it's playing by the rules that are out there is often very tough. You know, you may very well be coming into a marketplace that's super saturated. I mean, it's really tough to find something where nobody else is doing what you're looking to do or what you want to do. So, you know, we talk about, you know, the saying here is losers get in line, and this is kind of harsh, but losers get in line to chase and drool over those more successful while being hunted like quarry by those jealously trailing them. It's not a pretty image. Right? And it's like being on a treadmill, like a gerbil on a little treadmill. And you're chasing somebody and somebody's chasing you, and everybody's basically offering the same thing. And it's it becomes a very uncomfortable situation because, quite frankly, when you're in business and you're continuously chasing somebody and you can't quite get ahead because of whatever, the market won't let you, or you're not willing to take any chances or flyers, it becomes very discouraging. And that's one of the reasons a lot of entrepreneurs give up business or, their initiatives, because they just get tired of chasing everybody. And that's why we talk about tailgating. Try not to tailgate competitors, especially those who are crowding the marketplace. Try and find something a little bit different. One of the things I did was, back east, I worked with the Inuit Co-op, the stone carvers, and they were producing some really beautiful work. But they were selling it. I mean, they were putting it on consignment to a lot of art galleries and selling it for next to nothing. So I started running classes. I didn't have the knowledge, but I had the knowledge of what they needed to do, not the content. And we talked to them about storytelling, because people remember stories. Stories are very memorable. When you meet somebody and you tell a story of another situation that happened, or something from business, not to make them feel guilty, but just to tell a story of, and the thing is, Indigenous entrepreneurs, the Indigenous community, are natural storytellers. You have so much depth to work with, and people like hearing stories. They remember these stories. They connect you with these stories, and it definitely works to your advantage. So with this Inuit group, I got them together, and I brought in some of the elders in the community, and I said, when you sell your artwork, this was years ago, when you sell your artwork, I don't want you to sell it as a piece of stone. I want you to sell it as a story. Tell people what it represents. The sea spirit, or the hunter goddess, or something that you're like, what made you carve this? And what does it represent? It's not just a dancing bear. It's the spirit of happiness and good luck in the community. So, and I had the elders go over a lot of the meaning behind it. And one of the videos that Lex showed was called "Spirit in the Stone." And it's Michelangelo used to have a very famous saying. He never carved a character of the stone. He just released it from the stone. So it's not only that, but you tell people about it. And now you see it's very, very common when you go into some of the galleries. They don't just sell artwork. They sell stories. They sell tradition. You are buying a piece of culture. Okay, so they stopped tailgating, and their sales went up dramatically, and their prices went up like 400% overnight as soon as they started doing that. We also organized them into a cooperative. So that's an example of stop tailgating competitors. Do something a bit different. Who are a couple of examples of people who don't tailgate? We see them in the news all the time. Anybody? What? Somebody said, yeah, Apple. They don't tailgate. And even though it's interesting, even though their technology quite often falls behind what some of the techie firms like Samsung and LG come out with their phones, and Samsung in their computers, and Dell. Apple just stays ahead. They ignore all that. They march to their own tune, and that's one of the things people love about them. But people like Elon Musk and, of course, Steve Jobs definitely dance to his own tune. Where we go? Here we are. So a rebel takes the I am not sheep approach and does the unexpected. People remember the unexpected, and that relates to everything you do, how you present yourself, the material that you have, your website. If your website looks like, a Chinese flea market, you know, from downtown Beijing or Shanghai, it's going to blend in with everybody else. You know, there's a lot of people say, I don't like white space on my website or on my promotional material, but white space is very attractive. It sets you apart. And that's just one example. So, you know, you have to think, how does this not make me a sheep? Now, so a rebel is an innovator, unafraid to try new strategies like offbeat guerrilla marketing, or taking chances somewhat beyond the norm and being less orthodox. And the thing is, if you try to please everyone, you'll please no one because you'll just blend into the woodwork. I think I showed you once the promotional video that we did for a beer that we were looking to bring to market. And it's very short, but it just shows you, think of this as the unorthodox. Think of, you know, the Coors commercial or the Molson Light commercial, you know, that shows a party at the beach or, you know, whatever. It's the same old crap. But I want to show you this commercial again. And it's very short, but it shows you how you can go against the grain and be remembered, because everybody we showed this commercial to remembered it. Okay, you ready? What slide am I on? I'm on 23. Okay, I'll mark that down. Finally getting organized. Last workshop, and I'm finally figuring out how this thing works. Okay. Well, I'll show it to you. As I said, it's very short, and it's worth
I know you since you were at 20. I was 20 and thought that's so many years from now. A purple little lady will be perfect for a dirty old and useless clown. So yeah, wearing purple,
Brewski, brewski.
start wearing purple for me now.
Is most tremendous beer in history of beer.
Will all vanish, I promise. It's just a bad day of day.
Brewski, brewski. Is beer.
There you have it, Ruski Brewski. And you know, we tried to make a go of it, but it was a lot of money to get it done. Where is it? It was a lot of money to get it marketed. We didn't have a lot of supporters at the time, but all of a sudden it's popular again. So we may actually try it, you know, because maybe its time has come. But that just shows you how you have to be an innovator. You have to be offbeat, because it really works, especially for the small business, because you don't have a large footprint. So you have to try and make an impression in the marketplace, something that people will remember. And you see this in the music industry all the time. People like Elton John. I mean, he's got his trademarks. Everybody remembers. They remember his songs and his music, but they also remember Elton John, you know, because he is a lot less orthodox. He's very edgy. He's way beyond the norm, and he's definitely not a sheep. You know, one of the famous sayings that Lex has ordered 12 cases. Well, you know, it's funny, Lex, because Ruski Brewski can actually make a go of it now, because Russia is the bad guy all over again. So we should talk about that. I wouldn't mind seeing if we can relaunch it. But anyways, what was I saying? Yeah, there used to be an old movie star, and her name was Mae West. Does anybody remember Mae West? She was a real sex symbol back in. She was a vamp, and that's all she played was the vamp. And does anybody remember her? No? Oh, Tino, you're much too young. I mean, yeah. Anyways, she played the real seductress. And yeah, Lex, you would remember her because, I mean, you're almost the same age as she would have been now. But anyways, And she used to say, she used to get a lot of negative press, And she used to say, her famous saying was, I don't care what you say about me as long as you keep talking about me. Interesting words, okay? So be unpredictable, develop an attitude, and this may actually take some training. Let others second guess you, and people enjoy that. You know, they don't want to meet just another salesman or another stone carver or another. There's got to be something special about you. You know, you've got to endear yourself to your clients. And as I keep saying, you're probably all in this small to medium business group, and you have to stand out. And one of the ways you can stand out is this kind of stuff. Leave an impression with people. You guys will remember this mask, okay? And I wore it for all of maybe 15 seconds. But you got to do stuff that's memorable, whether it's your websites or whatever. And what you're looking to do is gain a following. And this is where social media is effective, or can be effective, because actually social media is a real quagmire. There are so many people out there and so many platforms that you really have to work very hard to be well known. You have to develop a fan club, stand out, stand apart, dare to be different. You know, and the most successful influencers in social media are the ones who took a chance, took a shot, you know, and, you know, leapfrog challengers because it leaves others choking in your dust. Attract attention, become memorable to your client. How do you think you can become memorable to your clients? Anybody? So I would say to you, okay, handwritten thank you cards. Yeah, well, yeah, that would work. But Tina, for example, exceed expectations intentionally, very definitely. Be unique. All good. So Tina, for example, what is the most outrageous print you can put on some of your t-shirts? Think about it. It can be a little off color. It can be, but to make it memorable. And I would do that. I would offer something like that. You know, one of the businesses I started a long time ago, when I was much younger, was a series of t-shirts. And what I did was, there was a company in the States that had licensed all the old artwork from stuff like Creature from the Black Lagoon, and they did the they licensed all the posters, so they had the rights to these. People like Godzilla and King Kong and Dracula and Frankenstein, and some of them were really, you know, really schlocky, like the brain that ate the earth, and I mean so I licensed these, and I started running a series of t-shirts, and I was selling these t-shirts at markets and at various stores, and they sold very well. I wasn't making them. I had a printing plant that make it, but that's what you call edgy. Nobody else was doing it. I licensed the rights to print these, so I paid them X dollars a t-shirt, and it worked really well. So for Tina, who actually produces some actually really beautiful products, think about the most outrageous, maybe edgy, I don't want to say sexist because that's dangerous territory, but something outrageous that you could put on, yeah, your mom's picture on a t-shirt. That's funny. I'm sure she'd appreciate it. But think about it. Think about it. You know, and sometimes you have to be as outrageous as you can. You know, I worked with a company that was producing wine, and it was pretty horrible wine. And it was made with blackberries, and it actually tasted like cough syrup. It wasn't very good, and it was anyways, very, very sugary. So they were having trouble marketing it because blackberry wine is not, connoisseur wine. So we developed this campaign. I developed this campaign for them. Oh, your mom is sitting right beside you. Hi, Mom. I think you'd look great on a T-shirt. Matter of fact, I would buy one. You can't poke bear, but you can poke. Oh God, that's awful. Anyways, so there was this wine. So I launched a campaign that this horrific wine was all natural. And we did up some artwork and we talked about free-range blackberries. They roam the forest. They roam the edges of the countryside. They commute with nature. They grow with, Mother Nature's beautiful rain. And then they give up their lives to be processed into this memorable, we didn't call it good, we called it memorable wine. And their sales picked up, the artwork changed. We showed blackberries roaming through the countryside. And it was it was very, very offbeat. Didn't cost them anything to do. They relabeled a whole bunch of inventory that they had. And it worked very well. But that's what I'm talking about, being edgy. Find stuff that people will remember. That made it memorable. That made it memorable. So we talk quite often about market research. And you should test your market and see what works in your market and become a driver, not a passenger. Find out what people like. Find out, if you're looking to go into baked goods, go into, do up some samples and stand outside a very popular bakery and give out samples and ask people their opinion, if they like it and would they buy it. And you tell them you're not selling it, you're just testing it out. There's stuff that you can and can't do today because of COVID. But that's an example of trying to understand your market. And the best way to find out about your market is identify and speak to the people who would be your customers. Find out what they want, what they like. You may produce all natural brand cookies, and what most of the clients are looking for is, chocolate chip. So find out before you commit yourself to a ton of stuff. What I would like you to do, I would like you to put this over your desk or over your workstation. And it's a saying by Andy Hunt, only dead fish go with the flow. A little harsh, but basically what he's saying is you have to find your own way. It's really tough to work or to run your business as an also-ran. And here's something else that you will find. When you become more of an individual, not only what you're offering, but how you present yourself and how you market yourself, you will have a lot more fun. Business will become fun, and that's a big deal with business, because if what you're doing is you're constantly hitting your head against the wall, worrying about cash flow, worrying about markets, worrying about accounts that don't pay you as quickly as they should, if you become more of an individual, more of a character, you will get a better following, a better clientele, and you'll find you'll have less bad debts, because it all goes hand in hand. Here we go. There's an anti-smoking campaign that has people standing outside a tobacconist coughing incessantly. Well, here's the interesting thing. There was the Marlboro Man in downtown LA, and it was a very famous billboard for years and years. So the Marlboro Man was a real model, an older guy like a cowboy, and he would be smoking, and there was smoke coming out of his mouth because he'd be smoking a cigarette. And it was an ad for Marlboro. Marlboro is the mildest tasting cigarette, blah, blah, blah. And this was right in downtown LA. When the anti-smoking pitch started, okay, they put a huge coughing machine right near the billboard, so that every time smoke came out of his mouth, this thing would just launch into this rasping cough, and he'd be gagging and, you know, trying to spit up. And it was very effective as an anti-smoking ad. So somebody was having a lot of fun with that, and it was quite successful. And the Marlboro Man died. I believe he died. Did he die of throat cancer? Oh, that's cute. I survived COVID-19 and all I got was this lousy t-shirt and a ventilator. I like that. Tina, did you write that down? I survived COVID-19 and all I got was this lousy t-shirt and a ventilator. Yeah. And the Marlboro Man died of lung cancer, I was told. So there you go. Poetic justice. So, why am I here? Yeah, here's an interesting. This is a tough question. Are you a boring business person? Are you a boring business person? Are you? What do you think? Are you boring? No way. Well, Tina, no. You see, Tina, you've got that spark, you know, and you could take it a couple of steps further by, you know, as I said, doing some outrageous t-shirts and sweatshirts, even as a promo, and getting it out there and getting the name of the company all over the back. You know, Jacques, you don't think you're a boring business person? Okay, I accept that. I'm not calling anybody a boring business person. I'm just saying, if you see yourself as someone just like your competition, you know, maybe they're selling something that's red and you're selling something that's orange, but otherwise it's pretty well the same price, no real name differentiation, etc., then you're boring. You've got to take it one step further. We talk about play acting. And this is something that, for those of you who were with us for the play acting workshop that Lex delivered, which was great, by the way. Play acting is really important. You have to get into the role of the business person. You want others to remember, somebody that others are happy to deal with. And what it does is, you'll find it makes competitors insecure because they won't know which direction you're coming from. And that's good for you, because that gives you an edge. We talk about being passionate about what you do. You can't just do it. You have to be passionate about what you're doing. You can't just be interested in it. You have to be in love with what you're doing. With what your business is promoting. Really important, because if not, you'll just be chugging along day to day. Oh, look, today I got 5 phone calls. I'm selling 3 of those. I'm signing a contract for a little home maintenance, so-and-so's interest, etc. And does anybody watch a show, what's it called? America's Got Talent, which I love. It's kind of hokey, very, very staged, etc. But if you watch it, you'll see the acts that do really well are the ones that are super excited about what they do, about what they can do. And that makes a big difference in how they come across. And you should watch it from that viewpoint. And look at the ones that are super passionate, how hard they work, how much they put into their presentations and into their acts, as opposed to some hokey guy who's standing at 2 mics, snapping his fingers or whatever. Keep it simple. A lot of businesses try to be everything to everybody. Focus on a very specific marketplace. And it could be a target market. It could be a geographic target market. It could be a demographic target market. You can go after baby boomers, great market. I'm almost there. Yeah. But go after a market instead of trying to sell tons and tons of everything. Get known for being the best at something. The best at something. If you're going into the consulting business and you're offering find something that can be called your own, and that's what you promote, and that's what you get known for, as opposed to saying, I also deliver the same kind of stuff as Anthony Robbins, or I also deliver the same thing as Jay in his webinars or something. No, find the stuff that's yours and go with it and push it, and that's what you become known for. Okay, and keep it simple. Like if you have 50 products or 20 products, do a regular analysis of it and see which ones are selling more and which ones are earning greater profits, and dump the rest. Just get rid of them. You know, if you've got them in inventory, get rid of them, have a fire sale. Focus on stuff that makes you money. Try to focus on one revenue stream and make it work. And the revenue stream could be, well, it depends on your business, but you know, what did you say, Jacques? Compete to be unique. Very true. As much as possible, try to compete to be unique and focus on limiting your revenue stream. Don't try to be everything to everybody. You don't need to be. And if you're everything to everybody, people won't remember you. They won't. They just won't. Sorry, they won't. I mean, when somebody comes to me and they give me a menu of 20, 30 things that they do, I'll say, you know, I called you for one specific thing. That's what you want to focus on. Don't pump me with literature or websites that tell me you do everything. You know, you can't be a jack of all trades. It's impossible. They don't exist anymore. Shorten the steps to generate revenue. You know, people forget, some people, not all people, but some people forget that revenue drives your business. If you don't sell, you don't have cash. If you don't have cash, you can't market, you can't pay yourself, you can't expand your business, you can't buy inventory. So shorten the steps to generate revenue. And one of the businesses I used to sell is I had a company called ValueTel, and we sold phone cards. Remember when phone cards were really popular? Yeah. Like you would buy a phone card at the local 7-Eleven or Max Milk or whatever. And a lot of, and we were doing personalized phone cards. Like we did all the private schools, the St. Michael's and Brentwood. We did organizations, we did communities, and they all got money back for whatever arrangements we made. And it was really good. But I had a saleswoman that I hired, and she was an amazing personality. Like a mile a minute, she knew her stuff. She was persuasive. She was endearing, and she could sell anything to anybody. The problem was she tried to make every deal very complicated. Like she'd say, okay, well, we're going to get a card made for UVic, but we also want it to be partly sponsored by Save-On and partly, you know, Camosun College will come in on it, and maybe Royal Roads, and the more people you bring to the table, the less likely the deal will ever happen. And I tried to explain to her over and over again, you can't do that. Keep it simple. If you want to do a card for UVic, do a card for UVic. If you want to do one for different departments in UVic, do different color cards, and these were phone cards. And they would be promos in different departments. But she always tried to bring lots and lots of groups together. And I'm trying to remember, I think she managed to cut one deal, but that was it, like in a year. And it was ridiculous. And she was a great salesperson, but she never learned the lesson of shortening the steps to generating revenue. And that's part of business. It's not a game. That's an important part of business. Where is it? When planning a project, the more people you bring to the table, the less chance you have. Yep, just talked about that. Every cent that you spend should go towards generating revenue. You know, forget the fancy offices and the new cars. Conserving cash and using cash wisely for marketing, for promotion. And the interesting thing is, a lot of businesses, when business is slow, they cut back on expenses, obviously. So one of the expenses I find that they often try and cut back on is marketing, which is crazy, because marketing is the one that should be getting even more of your budget, because that's got to be driving your business. Really important, you know? But no, they said, well, we're going to cut our marketing budget because we need to save money. Well, if you cut your marketing budget, you're going to be selling less, then you'll have less money, then you'll be selling less, and down and down and down and down the spiral goes. You can't do that. I often recommend taking part in a large market, because if you do that, it's easier to capture a portion of it. Now, that doesn't happen in every case, because a lot of the businesses, and I know some of the businesses that you guys are in, like Jacques, it's a very narrow market. But if you have the opportunity to partake in a larger market and stand out, you have more customers to draw from. You have more of an industry spread. You have more market that you can tap into. So if that kind of makes sense, let me give you an example. Let's say you are doing motivational speaking, and you are a consultant in motivational speaking, okay? And your target is schools, high schools, okay? And that's where your main focus is. The problem with something like that, if you analyze your market, is that these schools have no money. And their curriculum is so tight that most of the responsibilities are already given over to the parents. You know, the Parents Teachers Association, and looking after the kids in break, and you know, dropping programs like music and sports. So instead, you would say, okay, who else could use my services? Well, maybe I can take what I'm teaching, or these lessons, and apply it to government offices, or large corporations, or hospital staff, you know, because they're always looking to expand their horizons, and they're always looking to find better ways to adapt to what's going on around them. So you go after bigger markets, go after different markets, and go after larger markets. But think about it. It's not always your first market that's going to be your choice market. It could be somebody that you hadn't thought of. So think about it, okay? Tina's mom, how are you enjoying this? Are you getting something out of it? Because we may ask you some questions afterwards. Are you still there? I'm not making fun. I think it's wonderful that she's sitting there. Yes, that's awesome. Okay. Profit and the bottom line are of paramount importance. And a lot of people forget that. You know, they think profit is a 4-letter word, and it's not. If you don't make profit, you're not in business. So don't think that earning a good profit on a product or a service is a bad thing. It's part of business. It's an important part of business. Reach out for business. It won't come to you. And I have seen so many businesses that start up and they say, I have a great idea. Well, okay, it may be a good idea. Let's check it out. How are you going to get somebody to know about it? Well, we're going to open an office. We're going to set up a website. We're going to publish our phone, and business will come walking in the door. Okay, that's bull. That doesn't happen. You have to go out there, and that's why you have to be very proactive in your marketing approach. You have to be an active player in the field. Don't just sit around and waiting for the phone to ring off the hook. It won't happen unless you're very lucky. Hang on, what do we have here? Ted, better profit gives you extra money to help others. No profit leaves you struggling. Well, that's very true. You know, if one of the goals you have is to earn money so you can give back to the community, which I think is marvelous, because I'm a big believer in social enterprise. I'm a big believer in returning to the community. One of the things I do is I do an awful lot of mentoring, one-on-one or small groups, and I don't charge. But I enjoy it because I like to see people get a head start and help them do what they to reach their potential. So yeah, I agree with you, Ted, and thank you for pointing that out. Okay, now whatever you're doing in business, if you are digging yourself into a hole, stop digging. Deal with it. Find a way to deal with it. Super important. Find a way to deal with it. And the classic one is when they had the financial crisis. The financial crisis just before Obama came into power. I mean, he inherited the worst. Well, actually, whoever's going to take over from Trump is going to inherit the worst. But he inherited some really bad stuff. And at the time, the Bank of Scotland was just bleeding. They were losing so much money. They had all these bad debts. But what they kept doing, yeah, that was 2008. Thanks, Jacques. What they kept doing is just pouring more money into it. And the hole got deeper and deeper. No matter what they did, they couldn't dig their way out of it. And they eventually, they probably reformed. They probably reorganized. They're probably still around because they were so huge. But eventually the government said, okay, we're not giving you any more bailout money because all the money's being, pouring down this hole and it's not going anywhere. And the difference in approach when we say stop digging is, and they were Scots, so they had to be put on the rack to squeeze more money out. And the difference is the country of Iceland. I don't know if any of you have ever been to Iceland. It's a pretty interesting place, but they were getting into the same problem. The banks were way overdrawn their capacity. They didn't have enough cash. They were doing crummy loans just to keep the cycle going. Do you know what they did? Yeah, Ted says, yeah, I can't afford to drink $16 beer. Well, when I was in Iceland, it was the home of the $78 pizza and $39 burger. Beautiful place, but phew. Anyways, so what did the country of Iceland do? They were in the same situation. What they ended up doing is they took all these bankers who were draining the economy dry, and they put them all on trial. And some of them may still be in jail, I don't know. But they took them out of their position of power. Then they took all the money that they were going to reinvest in these banks, and they distributed it directly to the people. And that's one of the things that Obama wanted to try too. But they distributed it directly to the people, and it reinvested in the economy and things, and they were the least impacted by those horrible financial times. So I guess the lesson here is, if you've got an issue with your business, deal with it. Stop hiding it. Stop camouflaging it. Just deal with it. Here's another one of these things that I think would be really worthwhile if you put this over your workstation. Okay? What would you do if you weren't afraid? And that applies to afraid of taking a few business risks, but calculated risks, afraid of changing, afraid of repackaging yourself, afraid of repackaging your product, afraid of repackaging your business, afraid of rebranding. And incidentally, one of the things you should keep in mind is that Lex, who presented a number of our workshops, is not only a marketing guru, but an expert on branding, but he's also, maybe he's not listening, but so maybe I shouldn't say it to him. Maybe he is listening, but he's also a little crazy. So what that does is he is He's probably one of the best guerrilla marketing people, one of the best branding people I've ever met. And he is available for some mentoring with you. And it's limited to an hour and a half, and he has a budget to work with over the next little period of time. But if any of you want to talk about rebranding or branding, he's somebody that you should take advantage of. And he will show you how you should not be afraid. You cannot be afraid. You cannot be nervous all the time about business, because you'll drive yourself crazy. You'll give yourself ulcers and you'll go nuts. Yeah. So yeah, Lillian, awesome. Yes, I do. Yep, that's cool. Give Lex a call. As a 3 decades economic, I learned that the local economy is respent, but as you move up the ladder, the money does not benefit. That's right. Yeah, that's why Iceland made the decision. They took the bankers, threw a bunch of them in jail, took the money, distributed it into the hands of the people who will spend it in the economy, and they recovered. Others did not. So there's a lesson. But yeah, what would you do if you weren't afraid? If you want to talk to somebody about rebranding, I would suggest very strongly that you take advantage of, well, you can speak to me too, but I may just send you on to Lex because he thinks he's smarter than I am. But, you know, and he's on this workshop, so I have to be very careful. So anyways, and rebrand yourself. Find a way to rebrand yourself. And Tina, I really like the idea of you doing some outrageous T-shirts or sweatshirts. Really, I really like the idea. Think about it. Some outrageous artwork, some outrageous indigenous artwork, something that I think it's your husband. I know he's the artist. You know, tell him to go a little crazy. See what he comes up with. Polynesian, right. Tell him to go a little crazy. What would he almost be afraid to put on a T-shirt? And think about it and try it out. And you'll see people will love it because it will be memorable and they will connect Lex's email is, send me your email. Give me your email, Lex, on the chat. I think I remembered what it is, but just give it to me anyways, and I will pass it along. Tell Tina, okay, it's lex@ethicmarketing.com. So it's lex@ethicmarketing, ethicmarketing, ethicmarketing.com. Yeah. Okay. We're going to take a break real soon. There's just a few things that I want to cover here. We've already done the hot buttons. We talked about greed. We talked about ego. We talked about flattery. And a lot of people look at this stuff and they say, this is really tough to take. But this is what drives people to say yes. When you appeal to their greed, when you flatter the hell out of them, when you appeal to their ego, make them feel important. And there's other drivers as well. You know, what motivates people? Ambition. Someone climbing the social ladder. Promotions. If you do something that helps somebody get a better job, give them more power in the company, greater recognition by their peers. And remember these, because you can build these into your proposal. You know, you can say, if you take my workshop, you can be more successful in your business. You can be more successful in the department that you're in. It will give you greater power over other people. So you can use these buzzwords. Use them. Don't be shy. You know, this will help you with your career path. This will help you build a following, build people who will support you in your business or in your or in what you're looking to do. You know, this will improve your status in the company. It will give you greater connections, greater greed. So these are all types of motivators, and there's more. So this is the ambition part of it. This is what motivates people to act. And what you're trying to do is get somebody to say, yes, I will hire you, or yes, I will buy from you. And when you appeal to this kind of stuff, and you might say, you know, it's a little outrageous. But it is what it is. It's real. And it's what gets people to whenever you're dealing in a business situation, whether you're negotiating a deal, whether you're buying, somebody's buying a piece of artwork, whether they're looking to contract you, you arrive at a point in your discussions where it's called go, no go. At a certain point in time, you can't sell them anymore. You've already told them how great they are, whether they are or not. You flattered the hell out of them. You flattered their brain dead, nephew who's sitting beside you and, making notes and shaking his head back and forth. You've taken it as far as you can go. You've shown that you can do what you want to do. And at some point in time, it's go, no go. The more of these things you build into your conversation or into your presentation, the more you appeal to their ambition or greed, the better chance you have of them saying, okay, let's go. Hang on. Do you see a difference in trying to close a deal one-on-one or a group with different aspirations? It's a lot easier closing a deal with one-on-one because you can read them. They're focusing on you. When you're dealing in a larger group, you have different agendas. So if you're dealing with a group of X number of people, you should find out who's going to be at that meeting, find out what they do in the government, what they do in the company, wherever they are working, or if they're independent contractors or whatever, and try to visualize what, if you were sitting on the other side of the table, why would they hire you? Or why would they buy from you? So it's always easier to deal with an individual or a small group because it's easier to hit all the right buttons. The larger the group, it's tougher to it's tougher to hit everybody's buttons because if you appeal to one, you may be pissing off somebody else. So it's always more difficult when you're dealing in a larger group. Tessa, thanks. Can't say that enough as this is a fantastic course. Okay, I can sleep well tonight. I love hearing that. I love getting feedback. And incidentally, I ask you to send me feedback, how you feel about the course, what you got out of it. I'm not talking about a 20-page presentation, but just a few comments that I can pass along to the funders, saying what you liked, how the presenters were, how the topics were, that kind of stuff. It helps. It also helps me plan for the next set if I'm going to be doing this again. Okay. Other stuff that motivates people, and we all know what PYA is. Protect your ass. So appealing to people's caution. If they have a fear of doing anything wrong that can be blamed on them, if you can appeal to that, you can, in other words, make them feel safe. Just make them feel safe. That by hiring you, they're not going to get in trouble, that there will be stability as part of it, and that you will protect their position. It's not going to impact how their peers or associates or whatever. If they have any fears at all, just deal with them. Make them comfortable. You've got to get to that go, no go decision. Okay. Status quo, we talked about ego or pride. Fear of change, and this is something that you often have to deal with because somebody is used to doing something one way, and you may be trying to get them to do it a different way. So again, that's part of making them feel comfortable. If they're looking to hire you because of revenge against the company or whatever, steer clear because that never works. It's going to backfire on you. The last thing I want to cover before we take a break is body language. Really important. And you should look at the other person's body language. Okay, if you're in a CYA mode, you aren't likely to do much more. That's very true. You've got to get them beyond that protecting their duff mode. So body language is really important because it tells people how they're reacting to you, and we'll go through some of it. So you look at facial expressions. You look at hands, movement. If somebody's at the desk and they're fidgeting with their papers or they're They're looking at their watch every few minutes. You know you haven't got long to live in terms of that meeting. Whether they posture, people who want you out of their office will sit on the edge of their seat, kind of waiting for you to get up and leave, making a point, not formal enough. These are all parts of body language. So here are some 27 body language tricks to make you instantly likable. And that's not to say that you are not likable. You probably are all likable. Well, everyone except Lex. But you probably all are very likable. But here's, they say it's 27, but really there's only these are the 12 best. Stand up straight and relax. Always look relaxed. Don't look like you're on parade. Appear open and undefended. Don't defend yourself. Don't, if somebody says, oh, that's a really awful tie. Well, when people used to wear ties, don't attack them. This is just don't do it. Keep a straight spine while sitting. Sit up straight. Don't lean forward. Don't shuffle. Don't sit like this. Pay attention. If somebody's talking, pay attention. Whether you are or not, whether you care about what they're saying or not, pay attention or pretend to be paying attention. Remember, this is all part of flexible ethics. Keep your feet hip width apart and well balanced. Okay. Breathe deep to the point of just below your belly. Mirror match the other person's posture. It's not only matching their posture, but matching what they're like. If they're informal and if you know it in advance, then you be informal. You go in, roll up your sleeves, just be a lot more casual. Stand still. Do not fidget. People hate it when you fidget because it obviously makes you nervous. Smile as you walk into a room. Offer a firm but gentle handshake. I had one salesman who worked for me, and he would practically break fingers of the people he met, and I had to teach him how to shake hands. Keep eye contact while shaking hands. Keep eye contact all the time because you can really read somebody if you watch their eyes, and don't start looking down. Don't look down at your notes, etc., etc. You should be well prepared for the meeting. Be comfortable. Don't read stuff out of your book. Smile when greeting somebody new, even if you don't like them. And don't lean on walls or objects. Don't lean. That's too informal. Okay. So that's you say gazing into their soul. A little heavy, but okay. Anyways, we're gonna take a break here. When we come back, what I would like to do is talk about a little bit about the psychology of business. I want to talk to you about storytelling, and then I want to talk about a few highlights of the lessons that I have tried to get across to you, and hopefully. If you walk away from these webinars with just a number of things that can help you get your business more successful or off the ground or up to the next stage, that's awesome. Then I will have achieved something. So when we come back, it's 10 past 7. Let's meet at 7:20. And you can, just do what you have to do. We'll see you in 10 minutes, and then we'll carry on, and then we'll do the awards to the winners of the business presentation. Thank you. We'll see you in 10 minutes. Bye-bye. Okay, is everybody back? Hope so. Everybody feel better? You got a little snack? You can hang in there for another 40 minutes or so. Hope you're getting something out of this. This isn't one of those sessions where you learn to do a business plan or learn to do a cash flow. There's a lot more depth to this kind of stuff, and that's why I enjoy it so much more. So we talk about the psychology in business and how to influence anyone to say yes. And if it's something you're interested in, there are a lot of websites. There's a lot of information out there about how to get people to say yes using psychology, using tricks. And what you're trying to do is get people to yes, get to that go, no go, and push them over the yes. And one of the things we talk about, and you've heard Lex talk about this, is tell a story. Your company, your products, there's a story behind it all. There's a story behind it all. You know, when I, excuse me, when I built that plant that took sawdust and ground it really fine and sold it to some of the food processors, people like McDonald's, that's a story. And you can weave an entire story about it, you know, and everybody loves to hear these kind of stories. If you're in doing anything in the art community or in the art world, everybody wants to hear about who you are, your parents, your grandparents, where you get your ideas. You know, is it something that you wake up in the middle of the night and you sketch stuff out very quickly? Or is it something that builds very slowly in your mind? And here's the thing. Here's the thing with flexible ethics, okay? Are these stories true? For the most part, there's usually some semblance of truth in all these stories. But they can be embellished. They can be made attractive for the person who you're speaking to. They can be, you know, expanded upon. You can keep them on the edge of their seats a little bit more. You know, if you know, when you're doing your artwork, you can talk about where this stuff comes from, what it means, what the symbols are. There's a couple of you, by the way, who have put some very nice comments in the moderated box. If I can ask you to email them to me on my at vithriving@gmail.com. That's easier for me to collect them and report them to the funders and the groups. So if you wouldn't mind doing that, that would be great. Take those wonderful comments. If you said anything nasty, forget it. Just hang on to it for yourself. But anything that you said, and for the most part, the comments would be nice. I appreciate if you could email them to me at vithriving@gmail.com. So storytelling is embedded in the brain. It's associated with the senses, with sight, with sound, with taste. It's a natural experience. And if you're using that to sell your product, it's find a way to build that in. You know, don't just tell me how great your products are, how great your services are. Give me a story about it. You know, tell a story about how you got involved in it, or that your great grandfather was one of the first blah blah blah. It works. It really does work. No, I don't like that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through a whole series of lessons. And we've covered a lot of these, but this is stuff that you should know about, and you should keep it fresh in your mind. Hang on a second here. Okay, the selfish gene. People act out of their own self-interest. Everybody is basically selfish. It's not a bad thing. It's just human nature. It is what it is. People act out of their own self-interest, and it impacts. That's why stuff like greed and ego and pride and sloth work so well as triggers, because this is all in the people's self-interest. Okay, so this is a series that I did what I didn't learn in business school, and this is the kind of stuff that nobody really teaches you. Nobody teaches you in business school. Somebody has to tell you about it because they've experienced it firsthand. Okay, sorry, can't hear you. Spinning wheel. Oh, okay. Anyways, so everybody is basically selfish. It's human nature. Don't complain. Nobody cares. Honestly, nobody cares. And we've all learned this the hard way. You know, when you go in, you say you're not feeling well, you have a cold, your kid was sick, you were up all night. On a scale of an empathy scale of 1 to 10, I would give it a 2, maybe, if I was in a good mood. You know, because it doesn't do anything for me. You know, and a lot of people do it because they're pre-apologizing, and that's another thing. Don't pre-apologize. You know, don't say, "Oh, I had to rush this proposal because my cat chewed the cables on the computer, so I only had a half an hour." Or, you know, this isn't as good as I would like to see it. Or it's not 100% complete, it's only a draft. Well, if it's a draft, don't show it to me. If it's not as good as you think it could be, don't show it to me. You know, don't pre-apologize, don't complain. If you're sick, stay home. If you're going to sit in front of somebody and you're going to be fidgeting and you're going to feel oozing, you're not going to present as well as you can. Okay? So don't complain. Nobody cares. Don't let customers see you cry. You know, if you lose a bid, find out why. Find out if there's something. Find out if there's something that you can do to make it better, or find out, you know, is there a way I can resolve this? Is there a way that I can make this? What's it going to take for you to say yes? What else can I do here? You know, and don't let them see you cry. Don't complain. Don't bitch. It's part of, learn from any experience. Anything you lose on, find out why. Find out what you did wrong. Find out what you did right. Find out what you did wrong. That's why, you know, when you do proposals like proposals for government, they always do a critique sheet, and they tell you where you scored high and where you scored low. So it's a good thing to keep track of, because that's how you learn. You learn by doing. You learn by listening to what others say. Be nice to stupid people. You will meet a lot of stupid people in business. Maybe you've already met a bunch of stupid people. Be nice to them, because you may need them. They may be your clients. They may be useful leads they may be multipliers. In other words, they may not be your clients, but they can open doors, or they can introduce you to some of their business associates or whatever, you know? So be nice to stupid people, because you may need them. You may not, but you may need them. Learn to skate. Do you guys know what skating is? Anybody? I'm not talking about ice skating. It's called skating in business. No? Skating is the art of saying nothing. Somebody asked you, see, Tina, you said, no, you don't know. Somebody said, how long have you been in business? So your answer is, first of all, it's none of their business. So your answer is, well, I've been in business for a number of years, but before that, I worked for other companies who were doing, you know, custom T-shirts. So I'm really familiar with the market and the quality of the products. And so you're saying nothing. You're answering, and you're not answering their questions. See what I'm saying? So that's called skating. And when somebody puts you on the spot, it's almost like a politician's answer. You try and change the subject, try and do a workaround. You know, don't let people put you on the spot. I mean, you're there for, you know, yeah. One of the things you can say is like, do you have a lot of experience in this? And your answer could be, Well, yeah, I've got experience in this, but let's focus on what my experience can do for you. Bingo. You've changed it around, you've turned it around. That's the art of skating. Okay? And okay, Lex wants to be a chameleon. You have to adapt to whomever you are with. If they're casual, you be casual. If they're very formal, you be very formal. Don't do anything that's going to upset their sensibilities. If they're very formal, don't swear, don't curse. Obviously, they're very uncomfortable with that. But you have to learn to be a chameleon. You have to change for every conceivable situation. Now, that's tough to do when you're dealing with a group. Okay. One of the things that was suggested, that somebody has suggested, learn to skate, answer a question with a question. If they put you on the spot and they say, well, how do you feel about websites or selling online? So your response will be, well, how do you feel about selling online? Turn it around and get them to talk. And I think that's a good suggestion. Thank you. Communication is more than just talking. Anybody can talk. It's what you say. It's how you play act the role. And we talked about play acting. And our play acting workshops have always been really popular. Lex is a great theater trainer, theater coach. I took theater with Lex, and I enjoyed every second of it. But it's an act. And sometimes you have to act. You have to play act somebody you're not totally comfortable with. And it's just a fact of life. So learn to act. Practice. Take some theater classes. Theater classes would be great. Keep in mind that 80% of your business comes from 20% of your customers. Far too often, business people will take their customers for granted. They will assume that customers will still be coming back, but they go after new business, and I need new business, and I need new business, and I got to get new customers. Yes, you have to devote some of your attention to this 20%, but most of your attention should be to your existing clients, because they're the ones who keep coming back. They're the ones that have learned about you. You've learned about them. You know their personalities. Savor and worship every customer that you have. It's really critical, because these are the ones who buy from you and generate revenues and generate cash flows to buy your toys. Bingo. So don't always be chasing new business. Spend some time for that, but not all your time. We talk about baby steps, and I think we talked about this in one of our early sessions. But baby steps are exactly how you grow your business. You don't go from 0 to $1 million a month overnight. So when you're planning your business, you should do a step-by-step action plan of what it's going to take, what you need to do, what milestones you have to cross, what milestones you have to reach, step by step. I'm going to do this in the first month. I'm going to do this in the second month. By month 6, I want to be here. So do it step by step. Those are called baby steps. And the reason baby steps are so good is you can do them. Once you actually accomplish a number of these steps, it makes you feel that you are progressing, you are moving ahead. So baby steps are really good in terms of motivating the entrepreneur as well. We talked as well briefly, I think we talked about a lot of these points, but I'm re-emphasizing them. It's a spectator mode. Sometimes you just have to take a step back and look at what's going on in your marketplace, in your area of business, into the geography, the people that you're selling to or trying to sell to. But instead of being the enthusiastic cheerleader down at the field, you want to be somebody who sits way up and watches what's going on and be a spectator for a while. You know, try to look at stuff more impartially than being super gung-ho about everything. And that'll also stop you. It'll help you in your planning, and it'll also stop you from making mistakes. And the process of funneling down. Okay, so picture a funnel. That's pretty good. So you have an opportunity, or you think you have an opportunity. Okay, so what you do is you do your market research. You talk to competitors. You talk to potential clients. You join trade associations. You gather as much information as you can. You do role modeling. People who are already in the business, how are they doing? How have they done? You look at successes and failures. You look at statistics. And what you have here coming out of the funnel is all the information you need to help you make the decision, whether it's to get into business or change your business or change your products or services. And what you will find is you reach a certain point around here where you start to hear the same things over and over again. And that's called commonality. And once you get there, you know you can let the information flow through and start to see what it means. What does it mean? How does it impact your decision making? And then you decide whether you're going to go ahead. And it could be starting a business, could be ending a business, could be buying a competitor, could be changing your products or service, could be anything like that. Okay, that's called the funneling down process. And what it does as well is it slows you down, because you shouldn't make decisions on the spur of the moment, because they're usually built strictly on emotion. Sometimes they work, more often than not, they get you in trouble. Okay, we talk about Screw the Rules. I'm a T-Rex. It's one of my favorite cartoons. Set the rules that fit you. Now remember, everything about flexible ethics is very personal. And it should be adopted by you to fit your interests and your emotional abilities to follow through on being a business rebel. Some are great business rebels, some are not. Whatever you're looking at, whatever business opportunity you're looking at, take off those rose-colored glasses. You know, they say in any business presentation, if you take your pro forma, if you take your revenues, cut it in half, and if you take your expenses, double it, that's a more realistic approach. That's a bit extreme, but take off those rose-colored glasses, because not everything in everybody's business is amazing. You know, I had this one guy that I did business with, and he used to do day trading. And day trading is you buy and sell stocks, usually penny stocks or low-value stocks. You're in and out in the day, so you're looking to make a very minor spread. Okay, and he used to, when we used to get together for coffee, he used to tell me he made $1,000 that day. He made $2,000 that day. He made $500 that day. And then I hadn't seen him in a while. And after about 3 months, I met him for coffee, and I said, "How's it going?" He said, "Well, I just filed for bankruptcy." The only thing he saw was stuff through his rose-colored glasses. He never told me about all the money he was losing. He just told me about how he believed he was doing great because he only used to look at his winning days. Really bad. Okay, business is not rocket science. And it's not that complicated. When you look at it, it's not super complicated. Hang on, I'm just having a quick look here. It's not super complicated. If you look at it step by steps and do baby steps, it's not super complicated. Okay. Living, thinking, we always say live beyond the norm. Well, way beyond the norm. And that's what being a business rebel does for you. Okay. Don't believe everything that you read or see question everything. You know, you see her home business success tools online, or this one here. Where is it here? From being a dishwasher to owning a number of businesses across multiple industries, Fred, that's Fred, mastered and implemented the 4 stages to become a successful entrepreneur. You know, they used to have, one of the famous ones was this fellow called Tom Vu, and he advertised Get Rich Quick, and he advertised that he was going to teach you how to buy real estate, invest in real estate, and make a ton of money. And he always had these commercials where he showed he was driving these Rolls Royces or Bentleys, and he had all these beautiful women, and they all happened to be in bikinis when they were around him. And eventually he went to jail because what he was doing was totally illegal. So don't believe everything that you see, okay? Try to avoid the BS. There's a lot of BS in business. Try to avoid that, okay? Test the waters. You don't have to jump in immediately, fully. Test it, do a beta test, do a pilot project. And usually they tell you test it in areas outside of where you are located. Okay, because if you're going to mess up somewhere else. Business is just business people. When you are selling, you're not selling to TELUS, you're selling to Joe Smith, who's looking to buy your product. So that's who you have to appeal to. So you always have to go, because sales are a very personal process. So always think of the person that you're selling to. Common sense is not common. It's not. You find that you think common sense would be common, but it's not really. Okay, business is very personal. It's what you want and what you make it. You're the only person you should be thinking about in all of this. It's all about you. We talked about that, and we talked about WIIFM. What's in it for me? What's in it for the client? First of all, it's you. Really important. And think about what business does for you. That's number one. Okay. Fad or trend. You should differentiate between what you are. If what you are doing is a fad, for example, vape shops turned out to be a real fad, or a trend, and that's what you should be pursuing. So do your homework. Okay. And broken telephone and communication. This is something I had with one of my partners, and it was just awful. It was just terrible. So if you hear any information, go right to the source. Go right to the source and see what's going on. Don't take somebody's word for it. I told so-and-so who told so-and-so, and stuff gets lost in translation. And that's about it. Play nice and try to be nice. So, yeah, that's the end of the workshops. If you have any comments, please send them to me by email to vithriving@gmail.com. Ted, I'm sorry you're not. I don't know if your volume is off or what, but you're not getting all this. But you missed some of it, not all of it. We have. We're at the, oh yes, where is it? Okay, so there's an extensive resource library on the Thriving website. You can reach me anytime, and if you have any comments, please get back to me and let me know. I'm always interested in finding out more about what we did right, what we did wrong. Thank you for being part of the webinar. I hope you have learned something. We've tried very hard to teach you a lot, and maybe there's been too much because we try and pack an awful lot. And when we do this in person, there's a lot more interaction because we can exchange stories face to face. It makes life a lot easier, So again, if you have any comments, please email them to me and I will include them in my final report to the funders. And now it's time, drum roll. We asked anybody who is interested in competing in the awards competition. if they completed the form and they sent it in and they did some follow-up, and if they have any questions, I would help them with the form. And it got me to better understand some of your businesses, and I reviewed these with our associates, and we do have some winners. So I will tell you, and I'd like to congratulate all of you. Like you always start with a larger number, and it kind of dwindles down as time goes on, because there are 16 workshops. That's a lot. But for some of you who seem to be super dedicated, and I think you were all great. I mean, the input was great, conversations were great, and I want to thank each and every one of you for being part of this. But we do have a few winners, and the winners of the awards for the best business information packages sent to me are Steve, Lillian, and Tina. I want to congratulate the three of you. I think you've done a great job. The information you sent me was terrific. I really enjoyed it. Well done. You're obviously very serious about what you're doing. I think you're all very serious, but these guys went the extra mile. And the award for each of you is it $500 or $5? Nope, it's $500. $500 for each of you. You have earned that. You deserve it. If the 500 helps you, sorry, Tina, what's that? 5 million? No, this isn't the CERB money from government. Geez, Tina, you push the edge of the envelope. I love it. Anyways, $500 for each of you. I hope it helps in building your business, cover a few expenses. What I need to know, and you can email me at VI Thriving, is if you do online banking. If you do online banking, let me know, and I will e-transfer the money to you. If you don't do online banking, I will cut a check and get it mailed out to you. So Steve, Lillian, Tina, special congratulations to the three of you. And I hope that your mom is celebrating. Well, you should give the money to your mom. I mean, she raised you. She took care of you. She fed you. She taught you how to be the incredible person that you are. So, I mean, Tina, think about it. Anyways, let me know by email the next day or two how you want me to distribute these funds to you, and I will take care of it in the next few days. But congratulations to everyone. And all the webinars are recorded on the Thriving website, and they usually get posted within a couple of days after the webinar. So these last two webinars from yesterday and today will be posted probably by Thursday. So that will be the full library, and they're long. They're an hour and a half, 2 hours each, but they're good reference material. You can skid through it and look at some of the slides. And your mom agrees with me that she deserves the money. Well, I think so. I think so too. I do. I think so too. Anyways, stay positive, stay safe. Please stay safe. Use your masks. Be good to each other. Be good to your friends and family. And really good luck to everybody. I think it's a really good group that we've had here in the webinar series. And again, contact me at VI Thriving for the three of you who did win the prize. And big congratulations to the three of you. And give me some feedback at vithriving@gmail.com. And let me know what you think, any comments, and I will work to pass them along. So God bless you all. Stay positive, stay safe, and take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.